watched Dr. Stone and found all sorts of crazy facts and Easter eggs. So get excited, because I'm going to tell you all about them. Did you know that Dr. Stone is one of the few manga with a separate writer and artist? The writer is Riichiro Inagaki, and the artist goes by the name Boichi, not to be confused with Bocchi the Rock. Although Boichi did write a manga called Sunken Rock. Anyway, together these two brought Senku and the world of Dr. Stone to life. One neat thing about Senku is that his surname actually has a hidden meaning to it. His last name, Ishigami, actually means stone god when you take the name apart. This name definitely fits Senku's intelligence. Although Senku wasn't always his name. Early on, Senku was originally going to be named Gaku Shiraishi and had a totally different design. This one definitely emphasizes the mad scientist aspect of Senku, but we like the current version of his design much more. Speaking of which, Senku looks quite similar to the protagonist from the manga Sunken Rock. Seriously, just look at their hair. Of course, like we mentioned before, Boichi wrote and drew Sunken Rock, so it's likely he gave Senku a similar haircut as an intentional reference. Boichi has also gone on record saying that his favorite Dr. Stone character to draw is Kohaku. We can definitely see why too. She's probably the most beautiful woman in the main cast, though some fans have a good sense of humor regarding her character art. Now, let's talk about Hyoga. Remember his odd wobbly style of spear fighting? It may seem made up, but this is actually based on a real-life spear fighting style called Owari-kan Ryu. Honestly, it looks pretty cool. Remember the running gag where Kaseki gets excited about building something and all his clothes get ripped off? Well, we can't help but be reminded of Food Wars whenever this happens. Food Wars is part cooking show and part ecchi. Basically, whenever someone in the anime eats a delicious dish, their clothes suddenly rip off and they go into a detailed fantasy about the food they just ate. Yeah, it's that kind of show. In episode 9 of Dr. Stone, we saw a cameo that sports anime fans may recognize. When Senku is imagining a generator, we briefly see the character Ryokan Kurita from the football manga Aisho 21. Before Dr. Stone, Aisho 21 was probably the most well-known work of Riichiro Inagaki. Another cameo comes in chapter 19. When Kuromu is hearing about the modern world from Senku, we can see a robot wearing Luffy's iconic straw hat. This was actually done to celebrate One Piece's 20th anniversary. In fact, all of the series running in Shonen Jump included a straw hat in their chapter that week. That's not the only One Piece reference either. In chapter 174, Senku and his crew had to leave behind their mobile lab. In this scene, we can see Kinro saying goodbye to the lab in the same way the Straw Hat said goodbye to Vivi at the end of the Alabasta arc. He's even got a little X on his arm and everything. Quite fittingly, this chapter also included Senku creating rubber. There was also a JoJo reference in the same scene. Yep, you really can't escape the JoJo references. The same scene has Kaseki calling out for the mobile lab, very similar to Joseph Joestar reacting to Caesar's death in Battle Tendency. There was also a JoJo reference earlier in the story back in chapter 100. Right when Senku's crew is leaving Ishigami Village, Ginro tries swimming to catch up to the boat. This is a parody of a scene from Golden Wind where Narancia does the same thing. The main difference is Narancia really did want to join, whereas Ginro, in classic fashion, was just trying to make himself look good and was hoping to actually get left behind. Moving on, did you know that Gen actually appeared way before we properly met him? He showed up in a very early flashback on a magazine cover. It's kind of strange seeing Gen without his white hair. Back to One Piece for a moment. The cover of chapter 181 actually shows Senku saving Ace by pulling him through the portal. We can even see Luffy and Akainu looking through the portal in the background. It's a neat piece of art, but hopefully the real One Piece won't take 3,000 years to complete. Some other color pages from the same chapter show us Kohaku wearing a brown dress instead of the blue one in the anime. This does seem more accurate for primitive culture. Blue dyes require work to make after all, but we think the creative liberties the anime took look pretty good too. One more neat thing about Senku is his in-universe inspiration. During the series, Senku mentions the reason he got interested in science from watching Doraemon as a kid. You know, the blue robotic cat who helps people out with futuristic gadgets, much like how Senku helps the people of the stone world with his modern technology. Next, let's talk about Momotaro, or more specifically, the version that Kohaku and Kuromu grew up with. The actual story is a classic folktale of a boy who came out of a peach, but when Kohaku and Kuromu talk about their version of the tale, they imagine Momotaro looking like Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star. He even has Kenshiro's iconic chest scar. Speaking Speaking of which, a lot of the stories the people of Ishigami Village were told do seem to be twisted versions of popular anime. For example, here we can see a deformed version of Pikachu. We can really only wonder what that story would be like. The same scene also shows us what appears to be the lead character of Video Girl Ai. In the manga, her face is hidden behind a text bubble, but you can still see her iconic spiral hair. In fact, Boichi has said that Ai's hair is what inspired those headphones that Yuzuriha is always wearing. Another reference that didn't make it into the anime happens to be in chapter 21. When Kohaku yells at Senku and Kuromu, her face briefly morphs to resemble one of the Titans from Attack on Titan. We think it's specifically meant to be the Armored Titan. Honestly, it's pretty funny.
So sad.
It's not just anime that gets referenced either. We found one scene that references a popular meme. That's right, this scene where Senku is sprinkling salt is a reference to the Salt Bay meme. It's honestly hilarious to see Senku in the same pose. Another familiar pose Senku strikes is when he's trying on the new clothes that Yuzuriha made. He's dressed in a pair of jeans and a tank top. These combined with the pose make him look like the legendary rock star Freddie Mercury. Let's go back to anime references for a moment. The cover page for chapter 109 featured Suika holding up a cartoon piece of poop on a stick and with wings sprouting from her watermelon helmet. This is a reference to the character RLA from the series Dr. Slump. Dragon Ball fans may be familiar with Dr. Slump since it's what Akira Toriyama worked on before Dragon Ball became a global phenomenon. Next up, we've got quite the collection of references. Buckle up, cause this one's a doozy. During a scene where they're talking about all the entertainment from the pre-Stone world, we see characters from several famous stories. And you'd better believe we've got all of them. There's Captain Nemo and his submarine the Nautilus from the Jules Verne novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Next to him are the tripod-like Martians from The War of the Worlds, a sci-fi novel by H.G. Wells that's been adapted many times. Near them are several of the slimes from the classic RPG Dragon Quest. Below them are the characters Tripitaka, Pigsy, and Sun Wukong from the Chinese novel Journey to the West. Right above them is of course Goku from Dragon Ball, and finally there's Sherlock Holmes, the most famous detective of all time. The title of 2001 A Space Odyssey is also floating in the background, but sadly, HAL 9000 did not get a cameo. The inclusion of both Sun Wukong and Goku is very interesting, since it adds to the past and the future themes of the story. The story Journey to the West is the oldest one featured in this scene, dating back to the 16th century, while Dragon Ball is one of the newest ones. But Goku is a character directly inspired by Sun Wukong, which sort of brings things full circle. We found something pretty funny in chapter 182. Like we mentioned earlier, this is the chapter where Senku creates rubber. Well, right on the page, Senku briefly resembles a famous rubber character. Nope, it's not Luffy. It's the Michelin Man, the strange-looking mascot for the Michelin Tire Company. In fact, it even says Senkulin in the background. Another fun background detail we found on the same page is the word Goodson. This seems like a combination of Goodyear and Senku. Goodyear, of course, being the tire company most famous for their fleet of blimps. Did we surprise you with any of these Easter eggs and references? Let us know in the comments.